review 8 real quick. Look at those questions on 8. Okay. I know we just read that yesterday. Is there anything on there that you didn't understand as we were reviewing it yesterday? And I know we discussed 10, but let's kind of revisit that. The comparing, tapping the palm tree.
Is that like getting
Is that like
sap in the water?
Okay, so like syrup.
Like on the Hunger Games. I don't know what movie, but she did something.
Yeah, that's Hunger Games.
It might be Hunger Games. So, but that's what that action would be, to extract. But on question 10, you know, we were talking about that kind of yesterday on the comparing of the relationships. Let's revisit that notion. Obarica and Meduca.
Oh, you're talking about when yesterday we were talking about the sun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obarica actually likes his son.
If it was proud of them.
And they're just similar.
But there's
They have
also
similar characteristics.
it's also what the fathers think of their sons, like their standards.
Yeah,
one of them
Congo
was
standards are really high. For
Yeah, so
boy.
whenever Noye doesn't meet his standards, or
But his
when
standards
the other
like
guy
down
sets
there.
kind of low standards and his son overachieves, and so
He's like kind of end of the world.
Do you think Obarica could be happy with Noye
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
son?
he would.
Like,
He would
they
be-
trained
that would
sons
meet
that
his
everybody-
standards. He
I
sets
think
his
okay.
standards at a reasonable.
I think
Spot.
Okanoa has, if he traded sons, if he would be happy with him, or he would still find problems.
Yeah.
Well, he already did.
No,
Well,
his
that's
dad
what
is.
his. That's what Obarica said. Well, Okonkwo finds something to be mad about
Yeah.
and everything. So he was walking around and
Yeah.
he got mad because a palm tree or a banana tree was missing.
One leaf is
2
gone.
leaves.
Uh-oh.
So he's gonna get mad if this guy became his son and
I
he
think he
like
sees what he
tripped
wants to
over
see.
the rug or something.
What?
Yeah, I mean he's gonna go
Go
crazy
trip.
over the smallest things. He needs something to be mad about. That's like his kryptonite.
I want you to read the sentence. And I want y'all to talk about what it means. Okay, so read it within your tribes.
Yes.
Okay, take another second.
This is the easiest sentence ever.
Easiest sentence ever. So we'll start with you. Read your sentence, okay, and then I want you to tell us basically what it means.
Everything was on target until that Benedict Arnold Chris decided to switch over to our rival as long as our trade secret.
Means that he was a traitor.
How do you know he was a traitor?
Because Benedict Arnold was a traitor and they alluded to that.
Okay. All right. Have you heard Benedict Arnold before?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know who he is or what he did?
Yes.
He like he gave the range and stuff up, and then it's like in the Revolutionary War.
Boom. Rebel. That's an aha right there.
He acts like he is the biggest Romeo around town and cares less what anyone says. Means he's
Has a healthy self-esteem. What everybody else says about him doesn't affect him.
It's a bit
Okay.
cocky.
Yes.
And how do we know?
Because Romeo did what he wanted to, despite what his father and his friends said.
And in this particular sentence, since it referred to him as what?
The biggest Romeo.
Okay, Romeo, he must not care about what people think when it comes to his what?
Woman.
Here we go. It's love. We think he's a romantic, you know, or he's in love. Okay, last sentence.
She was breathtakingly beautiful, but he knew that she was the forbidden fruit. We thought it was like
That's another
princess,
story.
peasant kind of thing, like Romeo and Juliet,
Okay,
when she's out of her league.
out of league, and also she's the forbidden fruit. What's going to come if he pursues her?
Yeah, well, literally
Death
that's what it
is-
said. That's what it said.
From the
What?
forbidden fruit.
This is always half empty with him.
So all of these, and now I kept hearing Blake, you know, mention it. What these sentences were doing. What were these sentences doing?
Alluding.
Alluding. Okay. What does it? Well, what can we infer alluding means? Use the context clues.
It's like referring to something else that's not related or in the same.
Okay. Beautiful. Okay, it's a reference, right? In this case, it was a reference to a lot of what?
Different stories that had the same
Meaning.
meaning.
There we go. Different stories. That written work. How many of us speak on the daily using illusions?
Not
I
daily.
don't do that, but like.
You don't think you do that?
Okay,
I do, but I don't.
We probably do without us
whenever I
thinking.
talk.
Not as well
We
written.
don't really know.
I refer to a lot of things whenever I talk.
It's like a natural.
Ooh, he just said like.
It's like to enforce your.
Exactly.
Okay, exactly. So what purpose does an illusion have?
Reinforcement.
Okay. So
Get your point across.
it does. It illustrates it beautifully. Now, if you look at the front of this, you can work within your tribes, but you can also work independently, like to troubleshoot. We're going to spend about 5 minutes just doing this front part, okay, to warm up our brains. So what I would like is for somebody at the table to kind of go over the instructions, okay, and y'all just do this within your tribes. If you're saying it's somebody.
It's just.
Oh, it's Randy.
Yeah, I mean, or something's happening, it's like, come on, you know, she's that early, come on. Flip over to the back then. Using our text, using things fall apart, I want you to become familiar with some of the illusions. Now, these illusions have been provided for you. But what I want you to do, okay, is to look at the illusions. Look at the source. All right, so where it says the audience, to whom is being reached, what audience would understand that better than most? Then tell me the meaning. All right, kind of like what we did with our Proverbs, when you were telling me the meaning of Proverbs. Your tribe, after you've done this, your second objective, how many objectives? 2 objectives. Go ahead, tell me, what was your first objective?
Find who the author is addressing.
Okay, who the author is addressing as well as the meaning. Okay, your second objective, write out a sentence that includes an illusion that captures Okonkwo and Nwoye's relationship.
Do you remember the story she often told? The middle and the bottom.
Right.
So, who is the audience addressing? So we have to put it.
Noye was talking about how he still preferred the stories that his mother used to
Yeah,
tell.
what if it's like
That's one of the ones that his mother used to tell him.
Okay, so it's Noah's mother is the speaker and he's the audience. Okay, so.
And so my question to you is to extend that thought.
alright, special meaning.
Why could they understand it better than me? Better than you.
Oh, because I had a personal connection with it.
Okay. Personal connection. And what kind of story is it anyway?
A child's story.
Alright. For which kind of children? Hmm? Okay, the Ibo tribe. There you go, I know. But yeah, I mean, that's. So when you're talking about the audience specifically, the audience who would best understand this folktale would be who? There we go. Beautiful.
So for what audience is the author addressing, we would put the children of the.
And so we're on the second one now?
Yeah.
It says giant trees and climbers which perhaps had stood from the beginning of things untouched by the axe or brush fire.
Says the original source was.
Going up that river was like traveling back to the earliest beginnings of the world when vegetation rioted on the earth and big trees were kings.
From
Well-
Heart of Darkness.
It shows him.
Something interesting.
Well, the giant trees and climbers stood from the beginning of things, so that means that they were there from creation and untouched by acts or brush fire, so they obviously haven't been colonized or anything like that yet.
Yeah.
That's on page 50. So it would be a good audience.
Yeah,
No.
this was whenever those men were taking imagery out to the forest. And whenever they got past like the village limits, and then they got to the big forest where it was just big trees that hadn't been touched. So they're like really ancient, basically.
Audience, that would probably have to be the reader. They have really addressing anyone.
Yeah, it's not addressing anyone, it's just kind of explaining.
So we leave that up to the audience. Interactive reading, I guess. And so what does that mean? Well, the trees have been there untouched.
Basically,
So
since like the
obviously-
beginning of civilization.
Yeah. So uncolonized. Okay, so
Like, they must have a really big respect not to be messing with them.
yeah.
So it could mean like that's a really respectable part of the forest.
So it's a really respectable part of the forest, uncolonized and untouched.
And it gives it like the stories that his mother used to tell, and it shows how he doesn't really want to be masculine or be violent.
I just want it to be how it used to be.
How they believe
Like, because in here it says right here, Noria knew that it was right to be masculine, to be violent, but somehow he still preferred the stories that his mother used to tell. So,
Israel.
like, he knows that
There's a conflict
his dad,
inside himself.
yeah, because his dad really wants him to be masculine and be violent,
And
and
he
be
wants to
that
please his
like
dad.
stereotypical man in that society. But he really just wants to go back to being that younger child.
So it's just a fight within him with which one he wants to do. That's great.
Alright,
So whenever you guys are done, I'll read this.
What were y'all saying about the audience for the folktale?
It would be the children within the Ivo tribe because that's like those are the people who best understand it. Those are the people who've been raised with those kind of stories.
Whenever you're trying to nail down the audience, it's not necessarily what's going on in that minute. It's who could understand this illusion best.
The way it works with them, like the way the stories work, is kind of the way it works for us with like how we're raised knowing the story of God and knowing that kind of stuff. We might not necessarily be one strict religion, but we all have like heard that same story. We know at least the basics of it.
Other places no,
Exactly.
but that's not really in anybody's mind. That's just the author explaining how old the country is.
Exactly.
That's what I was just talking about. Your country is where they will cover your face of the ground so that it cannot be understood. They will develop what little you have including every tree.
So these two choose how old the country is.
Well, I mean, otherwise you're not getting any of
So
those
who
now.
would
It just seems like you're talking about big trees, so you really have to worry about the argument if you know anything about it. Kind of like you have.
Yeah, it is.
So you say word there,
So that would be our
There's
other.
not many answers when we read that book.
But create a sentence that includes an illusion that represents the relationship between a couple and a woman. But think about the type of relationship that they have.
I'm trying to think of it.
And that's really difficult.
Is it good? Is it strained? Is it
It's
He's
kind
gonna
of
make it
strange.
okay?
It got better when the missing was there, but
This one doesn't make sense to me.
it's an awkward relationship.
There's not really a connection. This one's talking about the locust being good and like they get to eat them and it's very good. It comes after the season and helps them clean up. But in the Bible,
Think of other pieces of
it's killed all the crops.
Real raw meal.
Like, oh, now they
put that?
Maybe it's not